Okay. Good afternoon and good morning to some of you as well. Welcome to Power BI for Government number 21, Community of Practice. Before we jump in, just a little bit of housekeeping. So it's quite a few of us here. I would just ask that you do keep your mics on mute. If you do have a question for one of our presenters today, because of the amount of us, if you can put your questions in the chat and I'll moderate the questions and ask the presenters as we're going. If you have a question that you'd really like to verbalize, that's fine. Just raise your hand and at the end of the session, I'll let you ask your question. So thank you everyone for that. Just to note that this session will be recorded. It will be on YouTube for anyone who does miss the event. For those who haven't been here before, welcome. This is Power BI for Government Community of Practice. This is user stories, people from government showing you how Power BI is used and how data is used, learning opportunities, showcasing what's happening in the world of Power BI and how you can use skills and tricks. Power BI updates once a month, and there's always something new happening in the Power BI world. And my goal is to keep you up to date so that you know what is happening. My name's Warren Dean. I'm a Power BI trainer and consultant. So my company, DataTale, which is just me, has trained over 2,000 people. So Power BI training, developing your Power BI reports, rolling out Power BI best practice and architecture across the organization. If you need support in any of those areas, please do reach out. Love to work with you and help you on your Power BI journey. Just a note, I talked about it last meetup, but the digital badge that I've made and I vibe coded with Claude is all working. Thank you for all the people who tested it. If you've been on a Power BI training course with me and you haven't got your badge and you haven't got it on LinkedIn, just shoot me an email and I'll fix that up for you. But that is all working. And I suppose just another shout out, it is getting to the end of financial year. So if you do have any budget you want to spend on training, just shoot me an email. I do have some capacity next month, whether to train your team or I do have the online training recorded courses as well. Coming up, so next financial year, 25th of August, the Power BI for Government number 22. So our speakers aren't confirmed yet, but I am talking with two speakers at the moment. IP Australia have DataViz team are going to showcase, fingers crossed, not yet confirmed, but they've built a branding accessibility report. So it's all about, obviously, brands in Power BI. It's important to have your company brand, colors, fonts, logos. They've built a really cool report. I have had a look at it. So fingers crossed they'll be showcasing it for us in August. And there is one other speaker that I am speaking to and still working out if the dates work. If you have something that you would like to share with the community, we'd love to learn from you. We'd love to see what you're doing in the world of Power BI. Shoot me an email. We'd love to have you showcase what you are doing. But for today, 19th of May, we have Peter from the Department of Premier and Cabinet WA. He's done some really cool work in the security side of things, some reports that he's built and shared. So he will be showcasing that. We have Mayor from the ABS, not a Power BI presentation, but I thought this is hugely valuable in terms of service accessibility. So I know there's a lot of councils on the call. I think this is a very useful data that the ABS has put out. So looking forward to that. And my presentation is always just keeping you up to date with what's happening in the world of Power BI. So let's jump into that. What's happened since we last met? I think we last met in April. So we have had the May Power BI update came out last week, and then it magically disappeared. So if you're all wondering why May you don't have it yet, it was announced, the blog came out, then it disappeared. So I think there might be some issues with this particular rollout, but luckily I grabbed some screenshots so I can show you what is coming out in May. Set as a landing page. This one's it's a lifesaver for me. If ever you've left your Power BI report on the wrong page and published, first page it opens on for everyone is the page you are on. So now you can actually set a landing page and you don't have to worry about finishing on the correct page when you publish the report. Not sure why that took so long to come out, but I'm very thankful it is. Default format string. I don't know if you've had this, but I have it all the time. Obviously, I'm working with lots of different clients. I build a Power BI report and I give it to them, and they come back and they say, hey, you're using American format dates. And then I open up my report and I go, no, I'm not using American format dates. What's going on? And the reason is their browser, by default, Edge, Chrome, doesn't matter what they're using, is using American dates. And so I have a whole email spiel I've already saved because I have to send it to them and go, in Chrome, this is how you change it. In Edge, this is how you change it. Well, thank goodness, no longer. You can now set it up in your Power BI report that we are using Australian data. So that's a good one for me. You can set that up. Forget it's always going to be Australian format. Just a note, this is not the data. So if your data is coming in American, you still need to sort that out. This is just how people view the reports and is it going to come in American or non-American date format. Version history. If you save your Power BI reports in OneDrive or SharePoint, you now have version history, which is amazing. So you will be able to see who did the last update and you will be able to roll back to any of the versions. Probably a word of warning, if your Power BI reports are quite large, you might want to remove some of the old ones. But this is obviously a much requested community feature. So save your reports in SharePoint and OneDrive. So you don't have to set up, that'll all just work for you. In the April update, we did have modern visual defaults and themes, and I really do like this one. Share my screen so you can see it. So this is the new theme. You won't see it. If you do want to turn it on, I'll quickly show you how to turn it on. File, options and settings, options. In the preview features, zoom in here. Scroll down before I zoom. This one here, modern visual default. So it is a preview feature, so it might change. But if you would like nicer looking defaults in Power BI, you can turn that on. Oops, let me just jump there. And so what you can see here is I haven't done any settings or theme. This is out of the box, the theme. And so it has a nice gray background, light borders around every chart with rounded edges, and then the charts have a white background, this is great for me because this is kind of part of the default that I always set up in terms of my templates, and now it's just going to be there for you out of the box. So you'll note even there, you can see I have a title, subtitle is now out of the box. If you haven't used a subtitle before, you can see it does look quite nice and quite clean. I didn't have to do anything for this, out of the box, modern default visuals. I'll let you know when it goes GA, but you can, if you want to, change it back to Classic 2026. For some reason, if you wanted to go all the way back to 2018, you can use that version as well. Fixed size layouts for slices and cards. This is one that I do use because it is a little bit annoying how you can see here my boxes aren't filling the whole screen. So by default, this white box would be all the way over here and it would completely fill the box. You can now in the settings, in the layout settings, determine the width of these boxes so that the chart might take the whole page, but the box doesn't have to completely fill everything. So that is a handy setting that you can use as well. Preview visuals are now labeled. Not really a huge change, but just so that you are aware, anything under this dotted line is still in preview. And so if you're not sure what preview and GA means it's ready to go, it's tested, they're not going to change it. Preview means that this visual is still being worked on and there could be some critical changes, so you really shouldn't use it in production. And those lightning bolts are new visuals that they're working on and changing. So that's what all that means there. So unfortunately, we're still waiting for May to be able to be downloaded and installed, but hopefully, fingers crossed, sometime this week, May will come out. Excellent. All right, well, that's it for me. I'm going to hand over to Peter. Peter, if you'd like to share your screen and let us know a little bit about yourself, and you can take over.
Good afternoon, most I think you are. It is not certainly not afternoon for me yet over here, but thanks for coming along. I'm just going to share my screen, just hopefully I'm sharing the right thing. Hopefully you can see at least a cover to the slides. I'll just have a thumbs up.
Yep, I can see that.
Yeah, sweet. All right, great. Today I was just going to kind of step through, I guess, a project that I actually worked on in university, but found really great application within some of my government roles. So I am not a data person as well. So, but like from a cybersecurity aspect, I guess the aspects that we often encounter across our agencies or organizations collectively is gaps in security. And when that, I guess, turns out to be something that can be exploited, that ends up having a bad day for someone. And so where we kind of got to is I kind of looked at going, well, is this what you're, if this is a really great fence, but if this is what your security looks like, would you be happy? Obviously, being able to peer straight in and get a bird's eye view kind of doesn't really give a lot of confidence if you were trying to protect something behind that. So really what we were, I guess, trying to get to was basically have an evidence-based approach to make sure that we could actually go through and round out any, I guess, gaps in coverage that are seen. So, because I guess the one aspect that we often see is an incident will occur in another organization, and the executive will say to you, could that happen to us? And frankly, it probably could, but I suppose within cyber, often we ask to confirm that we have good technical controls that would protect an organization, but how do we really know? So, so this, I guess, as an aspect of cybersecurity, is really it's got its own dedicated field, often known as governance risk compliance, GRC for short. But I suppose the aspect is that we obviously want to try and, I guess, look to try and get as much assurance as we get. But how do we get there? And so as for many that if you're working with data, we know that Microsoft Excel and docs and sheets rule the world, and it's pretty common. This is kind of also what we do see across cyber as well. So it's not unique to other data areas or other IT practitioners. But I guess if we look at, say, the aspect is people are still heavily relying on manual assessments, manual data crunching, and it's incredibly slow, probably prone to error. I can share these slides later with people if they would like it as well. So if you want the data, go knock yourself out. But obviously the key thing was trying to obviously look at some aspects where we could try and drive some of the governance risk compliance, but not use Excel. So just kind of give a bit of a background. I'm a bit of a seasoned IT and cyber professional for the last 20 years. I am a recovering sysadmin. I spent a fair bit of time behind that. This work that I developed, this tool set, was really out of some of my academic work within my master's, continual learner, mentor, and I really love trying to automate myself out of a job. So if I can do that, I will. But if we just probably just to set the scene for those that aren't really too familiar with some of the terms I'm going to try to use today, I've just had Copilot smashed together. So if it got it wrong, it's probably hallucinating. But overall, what we're trying to look at when we look at security, this big thing in the middle is a SIEM, security and incident event management system. It's effectively a big fat database where event logs, activity all kind of flow into one spot where we can do alerting dashboards and really just trying to go through and understand what's happening in our environment. When we augment that with people, often referred to as a security operations center, we have analysts that are looking and triaging alerts, performing threat hunting, and really kind of enabling incident response. So where this kind of fits in a really complex organization is the quality of data coming in really impacts our function and how we respond to an incident. So now this will vary based on different organization sizes. So obviously that's an aspect that you've got to kind of consider, but really just kind of where this sits. And look, the kind of the ecosystem with most of these security tools, and not trying to rag on any of them, but they don't really do a really great job of trying to understand where your gaps are. You get noise in and logs, it'll fire off an alert, but it doesn't really tell you where your gaps are, and often those are the ones like our fence back before that could obviously introduce an easy way in for someone and it's not detected. So really where I kind of started, before I show what I've built there anyways, I had to kind of come up with a bit of a way to make sure how do we really measure and assess. And to kind of start off with that piece, went to something that our federal colleagues over in Canberra went through and developed, really framed around detecting and mitigating Active Directory compromises. If I wanted to measure success, I had to use something there. Fortunately, it's got some really great guidance for looking at what log sources and telemetry we're trying to see and the data coming into that system. But obviously, one of the aspects is obviously just trying to make sure that we understood the types that we needed to look for to make sure we could, I guess, mitigate incidents occurring. So that obviously aligns with some of the best practices for the deployment for some of the common tools. For the tool that I've built this for is really for a Microsoft-centric ecosystem. So those familiar with Microsoft E5 licensing and the Microsoft security stack, which is a combination of Microsoft Defender and Microsoft Sentinel, which is their SIEM cloud-based as well. And really what we're just trying to get to is getting to make sure I've got the ability to have a combined view of my assets, because really that kind of is like the fence view itself, and looking at, say, prioritized remediation. So if I did have a problem with my my telemetry, I'd be able to identify gaps and go there. But fundamentally, what I wanted to do was change the way I did this process because, as I said, most people going back to spreadsheets, I was really frustrated. So what I went to try and do is make sure we were applying GRC engineering approaches and kind of really be data-driven. So because really wanted to make sure we got rid of some of that manual toll trivial outputs. And look, obviously, it's just kind of very easy to not have a continual basis of this, whereas some of those data sources are quite single point in time. So what I ended up doing is kind of bring together three core technology platforms, both in like an offline and an online method, depending on the size of the environment. I really collected three data sources, brings a combined view, and then allows an automated mapping of asset groups to determine priority hosts, mapping of, say, the telemetry that we see to make sure we've got the ability to measure detection capabilities, and then automated, I guess, a partial coverage of some of the common data sources that we'd expect to see with some of the tools itself. And so really it was trying to provide insights of timeliness of event correlation, ingestion delays, and the way I kind of also brought this all together is make sure we had like a custom schema that individuals could customize to make sure they could map to valuable events weighted to kind of how we remediate things. So there, I'll probably just skip this, but there was some data collection that we did do that can be performed within an Active Directory environment that just uses PowerShell to extract some data. So when we are trying to extract data, we did use a combination of some tools that could actually go through and, I guess, collect that data, put them into a bunch of CSVs and put them in the standard data mode as well. But for the actual purpose of our Power BI itself, I've actually gone through and got that, so it's actually retrieving it straight from a live environment. For today, we're not going to go hit a live environment. I just synthesized a bunch of data to make it presentable. So let's just flip to the demo. I'll just switch share and go to the actual report. One moment. Hopefully people can give a thumbs up if they can see this. So this is what I've built. So obviously everything Power BI, we want to kind of have a really concise dashboard. And the way that kind of brought this together was really kind of bringing together some asset discovery, really kind of mapping out things, ones that actually sit in a modern on-premise environment and ones that sit in a modern cloud. And so we had an ability to drill that through, looking at, I guess, the coverage. Now, this is, again, demo data, but for all the assets that we had, this 1,000 plus, we could actually determine a measurable output going how many are actually being captured in my SIEM. In this case, 65%. So we've got a gap to really address. And it really hones into some of the critical asset groups that we typically see within corporate environments. The actual report itself does connect to those live data sources, brings it all together. But I guess the key thing is what it really wanted to make sure we had was a practical tool for practitioners. So I've had this run in several organizations, and it's really helped them understand where their gaps are, and obviously aim for trying to remediate that. We kind of brought together a visibility heat map, very simple in what it's trying to do, really simple traffic lights to really try and hone in a practitioner to go through and identify where their weaknesses are. So in this demo data set, we've got some things that have got really great coverage across. Do we have visibility within the scene? Does it have MDI? Now, MDI is a tool from Microsoft called Microsoft Defender for Identity. It really looks at identity events across those systems. MDE is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. It's kind of like the antivirus or endpoint protection. And AD event is the logons and events that we would see against each of the endpoints. Again, mapped back to that ASD guidance. So really what this is trying to drill down is looking at kind of a way that we can drill into high risk hosts, understand that visibility, and really enable a team to go through and treat their environment. When we look at, say, our per host visibility, it really does allow us to kind of slice into some of the data point or the asset groups, so we can actually focus effort. So I've already got this, just clear all our filters, but if we needed to look at some of our really critical assets, I mean, within most environments, we'd be looking at, say, domain controllers. It would allow us to kind of bring all the hosts there that had good coverage and ones that didn't, but then obviously go through and filter down and going, okay, what are our risky hosts? Bring them down, and then we can actually go through and look at going, okay, well, this has got something's there and not missing. And so behind the scenes, that schema really helps drive that health score. So we can go through and drill into the individual host detail, which kind of allows us to look at it, and straight away we've got simple, metrics and more measures to go. So this one doesn't have Defender for Identity. It really gives something really quite actionable for this and team to go through and do. When we were talking about obviously the visibility of events, one of the things that we see within cybersecurity is making sure we've got enough coverage of, telemetry that comes in. And so we've kind of got like a minimal viable amount of events that we want to see, like the users logged on, users logged off, those kind of actions. And so where we've tried to build the tool is really to kind of hone in on to make sure that we've got a really good gauge, so then teams can work towards, getting that full visibility. Now, the catch with any of these is if we have too much visibility events, we've probably got a bad day on our hands. And so what we kind of at least set is like kind of a target range that the agencies or the organizations that need to obviously aim for would hit there. So try to put as many tooltips and aspects that would allow that intuition. When we look at, say, some of the, the types of attacks that we would typically see against these environments, the ability to make sure that we, got good coverage on the types of, common attacks. The tool itself would allow us to go through and go, do I have sufficient, visibility of events that would make sure I could detect this in my environment? I think I've got some minor bugs around how my colors are coming, but the coverage percentage is correct. So I think I've seen this work actually properly fine, no problems in a real environment. I think it's something wrong with my demo data, but really the demo is just really kind of show the functionality that it provides. When we look at, the performance of a scene, we don't want to have, significant delays on data coming in, because time is really important time is precious in that. So what we've tried to do is make sure we had a real good understanding of what is considered real time. And in that case, we're looking at, say, under 5 minutes, getting some of those logs in there. And across the actual fleet of this demo data, we can kind of see timeliness of the percentage of things coming through. So where we're trying to, understand if the system is also both collecting well and really kind of getting that timely ingestion and data coming in was really important in this solution. Look, I think I'm running out of time there anyway, but certainly what this, I guess, seeing this tool being used by a few people, it's been really easy for them to kind of drill into individual asset classes, prioritize their work, but certainly also give them enough flexibility behind the scenes if they needed to make changes or adapt to their environment. So the tool itself, I'll just stop sharing that screen there anyway. I guess a lot of our aspects within our way of working is we try to, I guess, share some of those. And so what we have done is I've gone through and they both on, I guess, my own GitHub as I built it, as well as the WA government's GitHub itself that could be used to pull that down. So if you have a Microsoft native security stack, it's really practical for teams to triage and do their work. Over to you, Warren.
Yeah, no,
or
thank
happy
you.
to answer questions.
Yeah, no, we still have plenty of time. So if there's any questions, if you want to drop in the chat, but I can see there's a lot of work that's gone into that. For someone who's going to download and use that report, is there anything like, I assume most people are a Microsoft house, but is there any licenses, any of those things that it's connecting to that they need?
So within their own environments, they would need to have things like an Active Directory environment if they're kind of that hybrid. Most organizations are probably in that space, but it doesn't need that necessarily. Obviously, from a Microsoft licensing point of view, Defender is included in a lot of those E5 environments. Whether or not they enable or not, it's probably up to the team. And look, this one specifically for some of the, I guess, environments that are very native in that environment. Particularly, we have very high reusability across our organizations here that I work and support with. But certainly, like, this kind of came out a bit of a uni project. And so it's about 3 weekends of work to kind of pull it together, but understanding on the methodology of how assessments and then the flow of presenting the data in a really usable way was probably the thing that I probably spent more time on rather than the data collection and massaging the data. So it's probably got pretty imperfect Power BI skills, but look, it's obviously very practical for some of our teams to go through and, I guess, identify gaps and, I guess, go through and drill that in. So, but certainly it'd be something if I went to that front page of the, and if I just reshare the I guess, that front page of the report, it'd be quite straightforward that you could just give that to an executive, really high level bird's eye view, or even like your CISO or similar, and say, look, this is what our coverage, and it really gives a good conversation that they can have with their teams to go, all right, well, you've got problems here, there's red, and they get colors and the typical traffic lights as well. So they can then drive that with the teams that might be the practitioners, or it's an MSP or similar that's implementing that. And certainly that a lot of this kind of is around understanding what good data looks like, understanding what is actually needed to drive the data. So within the GitHub repo, there is a number of, I guess, requirements that are required to run this in your environment if you've got that native stack. And so it kind of unpacks that so really well, kind of documented and laid out, so to make it really reusable.
No, fantastic. So yeah, I think it's a great resource. So no, really do appreciate that, especially putting your expertise in there. And I think the Power BI was not bad. You got tooltips, you got drill throughs, you got a lot of functionality there. So no, well done. If anyone wants to ask a particular question, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, put them in the chat and I'll read through some of the questions. So Will would like to know, how is the process automated, and if there are any data feeds?
Okay, so and look, it depends on what the data sources, but with those kind of the slides that I had before, there were 3 distinct data sources that it collects from. One could, like Active Directory, can be performed in an offline manner. So if you don't have direct access to that, you could give it to someone that sits outside and monitors all the cloud assets. The other 2 data sources are from Defender and Sentinel. And so that would be typically just reader access within those. And so they use a series of KQL queries that queries that data in, injects that into a Power BI query itself, and then obviously filters and flows its way down. So the automation itself is more into kind of how we bring the data together to bring that centralized view, and then really kind of what should be good from those endpoints or those assets that we're bringing in. That's where more the intelligence being applied itself, rather than is it going to go through and fix those? No, but it's going to at least tell you where to aim to go through and do some remediation work.
Yeah. Excellent. Next one's just a comment from Ryan saying, "Great to see WA Gov using GitHub, which is good." Another question from Will: "Who can build that? Only the security team would have the expertise. What kind of permissions are needed?" I think that's his question. And obviously, I suppose I'll put it to you, but it's, most people here are BI developers. Maybe they're not, they don't have access and things like that. Who do they need to work with, talk to, and who's the kind of person they work with?
Yeah, sure. And certainly it'd be anyone that kind of manages that infrastructure and provides that permissions. But in most of these cases, it was all reader access. So you don't actually need, there's specific permissions that, say, security administrators or operators would have that would enable it to take more proactive actions. It's really just reading data, pull it together. So if you do have an environment, the documents that are provided in that GitHub do really kind of just outline what are the permissions required to basically enable that access. Fortunately, because I sit in a space where I've got at least access to some of those in a read-only capacity, it helped obviously give that build, but certainly in demo environments or similar, you could go do something similar.
Yeah, excellent. Question from Ned. With Defender data, the APIs provide a point in time. So are you looking at historical trends? He's just mentioning that he pulls data down, and I assume he's storing historical data. So, yeah.
In short, this only just collects the last 30 days for like kind of the now and present to really be kind of quite focused on it. Now, the bigger picture of this project when I started was really trying to look at that kind of more historical trend data. In my case, trying to get that to operate in some of our automations and automated monthly reports that we work in. But in the case of this one is only really looking at current data. I hadn't really kind of built out for that, but certainly that would be, if I was going to spend more time than 3 weekends on it, I'd probably do that.
Yeah. Well, who knows if someone wants to add that and bring in that functionality, but yeah, fantastic. I think Ned's continuing, although that might just be he's looking at Synapse Warehouse. But the question to you, Peter, is: are you considering pipeline automation in Synapse?
So I know some of our other automations now. From my perspective, I don't actually sit in our security operations itself, and so this is kind of like a tool that I built for, I guess, more uplift itself. We already, in our environments, we do have, I guess, pipelines that send most of that data to ADX, which is then drawn upon back into some of our Juniper notebooks and things like that.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's the last question. I might put a link in for the next meetup, so in August. And if Peter, I know you've got the slides there, but can you grab the GitHub links and drop them in the chat for us? So if anyone wants to, if they didn't screen grab that, and I think Peter, you mentioned you're happy to send the slides around. I can email them out anyway, but he'll put that in the link. So if you want to register for the next meetup, the link is in there, and Peter will drop the GitHub link in there as well. Thank you for that. So look, I think that's a fantastic resource, and really that's what this community is about, right? Being able to share resources, share knowledge. You're all doing great work in different areas, being able to share and collaborate. So no, really excited, appreciate that. Thanks so much, Peter.
No worries.
Mia, if you'd like to, sorry, Robin, is that a question before I move on?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Oh, you're clapping, raising hands and clapping. All good. Mia, if you'd like to put your camera on and take over the screen, just let us know a little about who you are and what your role is and what you do at the ABS, and I'll let you take over from here.
Sure, Warren. Thanks for having me here. Hi, all. I'm Mia. I'm from the ABS. I work in the Statistical Solutions Services section within the Location Insight branch here at ABS. We focus on creating and publishing geospatial web services, interactive maps, as well as web apps like the Service Accessibility Explorer that I'll be demoing late in this presentation. And it's mainly targeted for government and public users. You can access our web services, interactive maps and data from our website itself, as well as through Digital Atlas of Australia. And the benefit of using Digital Atlas is you can then you can bring in your data and kind of analyze and do some additional kind of analysis work in that capacity. I can later on in the presentation, when I'm doing the demo, I can show you how you can access these web services as well. What's the best way of doing it is. So yeah, I'll carry, hopefully, I think the slides are coming through. So the plan for today is I'll just go through a couple of slides I have about the Accessibility Explorer, and then jump into the demo and yeah, take any questions you have from there onwards. Okay. So yeah. So what is the Service Accessibility Explorer? It's an interactive map-based application and dashboard that allows users to explore how far people need to travel and how long it takes for them to travel to there to reach the essential services. It also brings together road distance and driving time measures for, in this case, 2021 reference year, and displays them at a very small geographic scale. So this is at the statistical area 1, which typically represents neighborhoods with people around 200 to 800 people, with averages being around 400 people within a typical SA1. Services, it includes childcare schools, so these are primary and secondary schools, as well as public and private schools, kind of distinction between what public and private sectors there. While the focus is on access to services, this app also includes socioeconomic data. So these indicators allow users to examine how service accessibility intersects with socioeconomic conditions and providing deeper insights into patterns of disadvantage. And more importantly, this app focuses on geographic access rather than service quality or availability. So, for example, you may have a childcare center close to your place, but it may not have enough capacity for you to have your kind of kids enroll in it. Similarly with schools as well. So it kind of focuses on just the geographic aspect of it. So what data does it underpin? So the access measures are from Centre of Australian Research into Access at the Deakin University, which specializes in modeling geographic access to services. CARA uses road distance and driving time from private dwellings to the nearest service using road network modeled data with enhanced traffic information. So they use road network data for routing purposes with some traffic data, which comes from, I believe, TomTom kind of, TomTom navigation systems. The service locations were sourced from authoritative national data sets. So these are typically from your health, education, and childcare kind of institutions and bodies, government, ensuring there's a comprehensive coverage across Australia. So that's the main challenge when you're doing a national data set, is getting kind of a comprehensive authoritative data source that covers all of Australia. And in terms of the measures, the data set, we've used median values are used to represent typical access within an SA1, reducing the influence of extreme outliers, especially in sparsely populated areas. So in urban areas, it's fine, but when you move to rural areas where typically an SA1 becomes quite geographically large, and then you got those outliers in the data set where some dwellings happen to be, far away from the services and not typical of that SA1. So why was it developed? It was built as part of the Life Course Data Initiative pilot. It's a partnership between ABS, ACT government, and SA government. It aims to bring together cross-jurisdictional early childhood health and community service data to build an evidence base on disadvantage for children aged 0 to 14. The initiative aims to inform long-term policy response to reduce disadvantage. It also supports communities nationwide to find access to data sets like these to strengthen local decision making, especially when it comes to disadvantage. And so what have we developed so far? So far, the distance services data has been, we've created distance service data in collaboration with CARA that provides granular national insights into service access. These access measures also are available as a geospatial services, which can be used or accessed using a GIS software. So if you can use APIs to connect into this web service and access the data itself. Furthermore, this data is also available in the ABS Data Lab environment, allowing researchers to link service accessibility with longitudinal information on individuals and families, opening up new avenues for understanding how access shapes outcomes over time. The Data Lab environment is kind of restrictive. It's only researchers with approved projects can have access to this data. So yeah, it just depends on case by case. If you have a project and if it's approved, because it includes individual person level data. And yeah, so I mean, the app, we've kind of suggested a couple of images. It's also mobile friendly, so it kind of users can kind of use this on the go as well, not just accessing through the web. And I'll get into a demo. Just as Warren mentioned before, this app, obviously it's not a Power BI app. It was created using ArcGIS Experience Builder. It's a web-based application builder within the ArcGIS ecosystem that allows users to create interactive and visually engaging map-based applications. Just give me a second while I bring up the demo. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we've been having some kind of load issues in the back end. So hopefully the app is responsive today. And yeah, so we'll see. So yeah, this is the landing page when someone and I can so typically you can access this website. I'll just go to the ABS website. So a few different ways to access it is right now it's one of the main items here. So you can access the app through there as well. And you can also access it through and I can send the links through as well. So once you click there, I should just take that out of the way. So that's the landing page, typical welcome page, just describing what this application is about and some of the key features. It also guides users to reading up more about the methodology used and the different data sources under the statistical notes section there. I'll just close the application, this window here. So what you presented here is with, on the left-hand panel, you've got layers, and in here you have layers for access to services. So there's a bunch of different services you can access, as I mentioned before. There's childcare, GPs, hospitals, the different school options, as well as there's data on socioeconomic data, which is the area advantage and disadvantage, and household advantage and disadvantage. So if I was to, and this data set is also, so in terms of childcare, it's split by distance, median distance of services, and median driving time. So you can look at, you can pick which variable suits your business needs cases. Users can typically access, you can select a location by just zooming into a particular locality. So if I was to go into, you can zoom in there, or you can use the navigate option here on the left-hand panel itself, and you can drill down to a state that you're interested in. So in this case, I might select Queensland, and a major region, if I was to say around north, that kind of zooms into the major region there. And then from there, within, you can click into a locality. So if I was to kind of zoom in here, just pan out, you can see typically, as you expect, I'll go back to the layers. So what you're seeing here, based on the legend, is like the darker the areas, the more distance or travel time is involved. The lighter the areas, the distance to that services is much closer, so it's less there. You can see, obviously, there's an obvious pattern here where the there's less distances often involved closer to the urban or city centers, and as you go away from city centers, the distances increases. In this case, this is childcare. If I was to pick, say, general practitioners, so if I go GPs here, the map changes and it gives me a view of that. So within here, you can see there are pockets where the axis is within 0 to 1 within a kilometer, but however, there are some suburbs where you can see the distance is a bit more compared to the neighboring suburbs. So if I was to click on one, so that's an SA2, and within that SA2, there's a bunch of statistical area 1s. And if I was to click in here, it gives me some information about that particular SA1, just essentially telling that the median distance here is between 1 to 1.9 kilometers, and there are about 152 dwellings. On the right-hand panel, you can see it presents you with access measures for all other services. So not only general practitioners, but also childcare, hospitals, and primary schools and secondary schools, as well as some metrics on the socioeconomic metrics on advantage and disadvantage. So it kind of tells me here that there's about 16% of dwellings in this SA1 that are in quartile 1. Quartile 1 is where there's indicates relatively greater disadvantage and a lack of advantage, whereas 57% of dwellings in this area have a relatively greater advantage and a lack of disadvantage. You can also switch between median distances and median driving time, so that changes there, and you can see the driving time metrics for the different services that are tied up to this SA1. If I was to then go and look at the area level disadvantage, and if I just open that twisty and select that one, it kind of gives me, this is the index of relative advantage and disadvantage, and you can see most of those SA1s in this area are relatively advantaged, but there are pockets of disadvantage that are shaded in darker colors. And again, you can switch between the services and see if there is any, what are the, so there's any linkages between access measures and the socioeconomic conditions. So in here, you can see distance, sorry, that hasn't changed. I just want to check if it's, yep, so that's, this layer here is household advantage and disadvantage. So this layer looks at basically relative advantage and disadvantage at a household level within the SA1s in this data set. And again, it kind of highlights pockets where there's relatively, the darker ones being where there's more disadvantage compared to less disadvantage. So that's the map tool. And then you've got the dashboard. The dashboard is basically designed to look at the same data at an SA2 level in conjunction with some, I'll just go back to, I'll go back to a page that I've already loaded, so that's easier to kind of talk through. So again, so the dashboard basically presents the same distances services data at an SA2 level, so at a community level, and in conjunction with some population data that's been taken from the census here. So for example, looking at childcare for this SA2, you can see that the number of dwellings in this SA2, basically all the dwellings in this SA2 are within 2 kilometers of driving, 2 kilometers of road distance, which is not bad, and this also shows you proportion of dwellings in advantage and disadvantage. So in here you've got a spread of 18% of those dwellings in a relatively disadvantaged. And if I was to kind of switch between the different service types that are presented up here, for example, general practice GPs, you can see here that now the distribution when it comes to distance to general practice is kind of split between 200 odd dwellings have relatively good access, shorter commute times to GPs, whereas the remaining ones have more travel time. And if I look at the household advantage or disadvantage, that's 18% of the dwellings. So that kind of, you could say that the 18% of dwellings have a disadvantage. Could probably have could be in this pocket here, but again, it's kind of gives you a distribution of where the advantages are and travel times. And looking at the population cards here, it also gives you the number of children within this SA2. So there's about 23% of children within this SA2. It also looks at children of different languages. So about 3% of the population who speak English who speak other language other than English. And then also kind of gives you stats on if there are any children of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as well, and children born overseas as well. So kind of highlighting the different demographics within that SA2 in the context of population. Similarly, then you can go in and look at access to other services. So you've got hospitals as well. And again, you can switch between median distances as well as median driving time as well within the SA2. And then the navigation option is pretty much the same as well. So if you're interested in another state, you can just drill down to the state. And then I'll probably need to clear that, sorry. If I clear that and I pick any state I want to. The major regions, and then say if I want to go minor region, that kind of presents you with the different SA2s within that area. And then if I was to click on green slopes, it switches to, so then it presents information for that particular SA2 in the same format with your driving time as well as socioeconomic indicators and population counts as well. In addition to that, so there's the information page. Again, this is we've kind of talked about before, where this is where you've got statistical notes. And in here, you can read about the different data sets. So you've got the access to services data set from CARA. It kind of talks through definitions of what each of the services mean, and then a bit of information on the methodology. You can also access the methodology in here, as well as this is where you can access the web service as well. So if I was to click this one here, it'll take me to the web service. And this is the web service that you can access through our website. It's got the access to services data. You can click, you can view the data. You can use the data as in the map viewer, or you can access it into your own GIS, ArcGIS desktop environment. And again, if you don't have ArcGIS, I would suggest you to go to Digital Atlas of Australia. And here you can, if you're familiar with Digital Atlas, you can create your own kind of maps, and you can copy, go back to the link, sorry. You can copy the URL for this API, and then you can kind of put it into the, I won't go into, I've only got a few more minutes. I won't go into much detail, but you can use the Digital Atlas to kind of bring in that data and then view it against any other data that you may have from your organization. So you can use add a layer there. And that should kind of, give you the option to connect to this web service. So that's the data in there. Anyways, I'll stop presenting, given that it's a couple more minutes. So happy to kind of open it up for any questions.
Yeah, fantastic. If there's any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. So that's my first question, Mia, is if I work for a particular council, once I've got that regions and I've selected the region, which is probably a couple of SA2s, is there a way, like from this view, where I can just get that data?
No, unfortunately, we haven't don't have the functionality to be able to extract a report based on your selection. I mean, that was something our users were definitely after, but it's something we're kind of limited by, I think, the current functionality within the within the system, the software we've used. So that's a limitation there, but hopefully that's something we can kind of improve on in the coming up versions.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, you can definitely use this option here through the Digital Atlas of Australia to visualize it. But I'm not sure if the system also allows you to download the data as well. So then you can then filter it to the SA1s or SA2s that apply to your council or region.
Yep. Problems. Any other, conscious of time, but is there any other questions anyone had in the chat? I can see Michael's put the link in there for you, so you can feel free to play around with the link. Is that second link there, Mia, the underlying SA1 data? Oh, that was the other one that you showed.
Yeah, that's the link to the web service. So yeah, you can use
web
that.
Service,
yeah. That's so that's got the data in it, and you can then connect it using the API to your systems. Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah,
well, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I mean, I've worked on quite a few Power BI reports where we've looked at similar things. So I don't think that's a question. I've worked on quite a few Power BI reports, looking at different things and drive time distances. Sorry, I'll just that person on mute. So definitely a valuable resource to have all that in one place and to be able to build out the maps and have a look. So thanks so much for coming. Oh, there is one question. Connector. So there is a question about no connectors to Power BI dashboard. So you wouldn't be able to connect directly. But the Atlas, you would have would the Atlas give you the ability to download the data?
I know you can definitely bring in the data and visualize it as well, but I'm not sure. I haven't played around with the Atlas to be certain that it then you can download it into your download the files as well. That's something I'll have to check and follow up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. We can get back to that one.
Yeah.
I'm building a BI dashboard for the agency to show its financing across 40 performance centers in the States. Is it possible for me to load the digital atlas onto my BI dashboard? I don't know if you know that. I don't think you'd be able to load.
I mean, the digital atlas is basically a kind of like a data.gov for geospatial data. So it's got a bunch of geospatial data sets that you can access and view. You can obviously custom create maps based on the layers that are already existing on that platform, including data that comes from a bunch of data comes from ABS as well. And I'm just not sure if you can also then, once you've created those, can you download the data and then work in your own systems as well? That's what I'm not entirely across. So
we can come back to. I'm pretty sure you can download like the maps and things. Like maybe not data. You can definitely.
I know there are. Like if you connect it through the APIs, and you've got the spatial data set that you can bring it into your systems.
Yes.
With web services sitting in Digital Atlas, you can download them just as normal text files or as spatial files as well, depending on what data sets you're after.
So there is a comment. If you search for it, there are tools to download Esri feature services. And so once you've got that, you can definitely bring that into Power BI. Michael's mentioning, so there is a license requirement, but if you do have ArcGIS license, the Power BI license, you would be able to connect and bring it in via ArcGIS within Power BI. So yeah, there isn't that's not covered under your normal Power BI license, but if you have the ArcGIS Pro license, you are covered with that. Excellent. So I've gone slightly over time, but no, thank you. Again, this is data that I've played with a lot of council reports that I've built. So I think it is a valuable resource there. We will get back to you in terms of being able to download the data yourself, and we can answer those questions. But no, thank you again, and I really appreciate your presentation, Mia. Excellent. Well, thanks everyone. All the best as we head towards the end of financial year. Again, if you need any support with Power BI training, report development, all that kind of stuff, do reach out. But otherwise, we'll see you in a couple of months at the August meetup. So thanks everyone. We'll see you there.